Iran flight as allies step up sanctions. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. The news at 6 begins with the Department of State Services DSS releasing the passport of the embattled national president of the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC, Joe Ajaero. The release of the passport was facilitated through Abubakar Marshall of the Falana Chambers today. You will recall that the DSS seized Ajaero's passport following his release on Monday night. Speaking with journalists, counsel to the NLC Femi Falana said Ajaero's passport was released today and handed over to him. On Monday, while on his way for union business in the United Kingdom, you will recall that Ajaero was arrested by security operatives and quizzed for over 15 hours. The NLC had, in solidarity with their embattled leader, given the government a midnight ultimatum. However, the DSS succumbed to pressure and Ajaero was released before the ultimatum elapsed. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC has said it regretted not joining the hashtag End Bad Governance protest held in August. The head of information of the NLC, Benson Oba, said it was regretful that President Bola Tinubu led the federal government does not want the opposition's voice. Oba noted that the practice of using the DSS and police to arrest voices challenging the government's policies shows dictatorship is creeping into Nigeria under President Tinubu's administration. Speaking in a television interview today, the NLC spokesman stated that the federal government wants to use the continued arrest of its leaders to distract the organized labor. The NLC leader maintained that Ajaero was not given any invitation, nor was he avoiding the security agencies. He explained that even as of today, the DSS has not given any explanation for arresting and detaining Ajaero. Meanwhile, the senator representing the Federal Capital Territory District, Ireti Kingibe, today threw her weight behind the 29-man caretaker committee put in place by the national leader of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, Abia State Governor Alex Oti, and party stakeholders last week to conduct an expansive national convention. Kingibe gave the endorsement at the flag off of a 4-day free medical outreach she facilitated for her constituents in Abuja. The senator, who was represented by her senior legislative aide, Dr. Chris Omofoma, told journalists that every member of the party knows the tenure of the national chairman, Julius Aburi, and members of his national working committee has ended as far back as June 2023. In a recent development, the 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Atiku Abubakar, has urged President Bola Tinubu's administration and security agencies to redirect what he called their intimidation towards the perpetrators of violence. The former vice president, in a post on his verified Facebook page today, also alleged that the level of oppressive control imposed by this administration now surpasses even the harshest days of military dictatorship. In his response to recent cases of DSS clampdown, Atiku stated that Ajaero's arrest exemplifies the current administration's persistent efforts to intimidate and suppress organized labor. The former vice president added that the DSS raid on Syrup was fundamentally opposed to the principles of freedom and justice. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has ordered Vice President Kashim Shettima to immediately visit Maiduguri, Borno State, as a result of the severe flooding which has overtaken the city. The visit was made known by the Vice President while speaking at the 17th Annual Banking and Finance Conference. The Vice President said, based on the consent of the President, he would travel to Maiduguri immediately after leaving the meeting, as the whole city has been submerged by flood. Several parts of Maiduguri have witnessed massive flooding, which has been linked to the overflow of a Dam. Many residents have been sacked from their residences due to the catastrophe. Most people have voiced that they think it is in relation to the accusation of treason, sedition, and so many allegations that were made against him. Others, there's opposition, political analysts, critics, and many Nigerians have been saying that this is a clampdown on dissenting voices. Would you agree?
Well, the optics are not good in terms of respect for fundamental rights of citizens and respect for dissenting opinions and opposition voices. Because if you look at the histrionics, it shows that there has been very large extent high level of intolerance. And the frustration of Mr. Ajero from his trip, where he would have represented the interests of Nigerian workers at that international conference. Now he has missed his flight. They are giving him his passport. Does that mean that he will still fly? And does that mean that he has missed that conference? And at the end of the day, what has been the benefit? What has been the benefit of the actions of the SSS in blocking and frustrating Ajero from traveling? And that is why people are beginning to feel that they didn't want Ajero to go and tell the world the experiences of labor in Nigeria. But frustrating him will now even send a more serious message, because I am sure that at the conference when Nigeria is mentioned, the whole world will be told that the secret police of Nigeria had blocked the president of Nigeria Labour Congress from traveling. And how do you expect the world to respond to the news? They will very simply know that there is draconian effort in Nigeria to shut down opinions of the people that are not in the praise of government.
Barrister Nzako, earlier today, we had the head of information of the NLC, Benson Upa, saying that the NLC regrets shying away from the hashtag End Bad Governance protest, which was held in August. Of course, it was a hunger protest, and many Nigerians came out to express their displeasure with the current administration and the current state of things in the country. The NLC is categorically saying, if we knew it would turn out this way, we would have done more to center ourselves in these protests. Seeing as they didn't even do too much in the hashtag End Bad Governance protest, would you say, as it is now, why is the NLC feeling bad? Why is the head of information of the NLC coming out to say we wish we had done more for Nigerians? If they're saying they are being treated this way, even when they did not do as much as they should have done.
I do not agree with that assertion. That I don't think there's any need for any regret, because if they had participated in that protest, the impression would have been worse. Of course, the accusation by government, they would have seen the latitude to begin to harass labor more and more, especially with the incidents of some ignorant youth carrying and flying colors that resemble Russian flag, and asking that the government should be changed.
You feel what Ajero is going through now would have been worse if they were actually part of the protest?
You can imagine if Labour was part of that protest. Government will simply tag Ajero a treason offender and begin to drag him around. So I don't think there's any need for such regret. Labour still has opportunity to mount their own protest. And like they said, it is better when they do their own protest, they will control their protest and they will be on top of their game in terms of the organization and the rest of them. If they join any other protest, then the government will single them out as scapegoats and use that opportunity to dismantle Labour. So there's nothing to regret. And then there's still time to protest. Many Nigerians are warming up towards the protest on October 1. And I believe that the fear of that protest is what is harassing the government. And then government is now running away from its shadows. Thereby, they are trying to clamp down on anybody and any organization that could raise any voice against the actions of both policies and programs of government.
As part of the opposition, presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has come out to say, in his words, President Tinubu's oppressive control is surpassing military dictatorship. He posted this on his verified Facebook page today. He's saying this is oppressive control. The security agencies and this administration should direct their intimidation towards people who are actually perpetrators of violence, bandit, terrorists, kidnappers, and the likes. Now, he was reacting to Ajero's arrest and the DSS raid on Serap office, which DSS has said is not a raid, that the office was lawfully occupied. Honestly, what could be the reason? Certain analysts are of the opinion that the president is not aware of what the DSS is doing, and the DSS is trying to give the president a bad name. Would you subscribe to that?
I think, judging by the credentials of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, his credentials before he became the president, he has been known and has been presented as a very big Democrat and one who has joined the fight for civilian democracy. Well, we cannot say we have attained democracy, but at least civilian government that we have been enjoying since 1999. So, except if the air in Aso Rock has changed what we knew him to be, but if it is the same Bola Ahmed Tinubu who has been an arch-democrat, then that means that those who are harassing people and suppressing dissenting voices and thinking that they are doing the president a favor are actually doing bad to the image of this government. And that is why so many people believe that the president may not be aware. The word may should be used advisedly because you cannot swear on it. You cannot be very certain that he's not aware, because at least he is just briefing from the National Security Advisor directly. And if National Security Advisor is aware, ipso facto, it presupposes that Mr. President too should be aware. And that is why so many people believe that we want to begin to think that the same Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has been a mastermind of democracy, a mastermind of civil protestation, a mastermind of civil liberty and freedom, will now turn around to want to emasculate dissenting voices. Nigerians are yet to see and confirm what we are seeing, but for whatever it is worth, those who have the ears of Mr. President should quickly tell him that the security agencies, the SSS and the police, anyone that is trying to suppress opinions of the public are not doing Mr. President any good at all.
If this is the case, the president must have, at least at this moment, been in the know of what the DSS has been doing for a while now. Why have we not gotten up? Why haven't we heard anything from the presidency to debunk or to say the DSS should step back and not do this kind of clamp down and not go after labor leaders and others and other Nigerians or even opposition figures? Why haven't we heard anything from the presidency's media office?
When things happen, you begin to think up front, back, left, and right. Remember that Senator Ali Ndume had once cried out that Mr. President was being shielded from the reality of what is going on in the country. Senator Ali Ndume said that Mr. President's handlers are not allowing him to see the faces of Nigerians and even know certain things that are going on in the country. We want to agree that Mr. President cannot know everything, but the wisdom of the king is dependent on the information he gets from his lieutenants. If the lieutenants of the king give him the kind of information that will defray the truth from the king and then make him not to get the reality, then the king will be floating without knowing exactly what is going on ground. And if what Mr. Lindume says is anything to go by, even though the office of Mr. President had debunked that, but from what we are seeing, it so seems that something somehow, somewhere, is not allowing Mr. President to see what is going on ground. And that is why we use the protocol on people who are very close to him, leaders of his political party, his close friends and colleagues who know him and who have his direct line, to call him and tell him that there is fire on the mountain in Nigeria and that his government is being demarcated by security agencies who try to be overzealous in their clampdown of opinions and voices of the people. This is far from the democracy and the civilian experience that Nigerians voted for.
All right. After that, let's talk about the Labour Party and the crisis that is currently rocking the party at this moment. But beginning from the beginning, right? Sometime in March earlier this year, a national convention of the party took place in Anambra State, which saw Julius Abure re-elected as chairman of the party. Now, Peter Obi did not attend that convention. Earlier today, Labour Party National Legal Advisor Kehinde Edun was saying that Abure has only spent 3 years in office as he completed the tenure of Labour Party deceased former national chairman Alhaji Abdul Kadir Abdul Salam. The Labour Party has now sacked the national chairman of the party, Julius Abure. With all of this back and forth, and then we also have the interim national international coordinator of the Obedient Movement, Tanko Yunusa, saying only the court can decide if Peter Obi and Alex Oti actually have the right to do what they have done. Who's in the right and who is in the wrong at this moment, as it is right now with what's going on in the Labour Party?
It's very obvious that all is not well with Labour Party, but why are all not well? What is the reason? Julius Abure, the chairman of Labour Party, and his cohorts have fallen into the same hands that Lamidi Apapa fell into. Hands, unseen hands that are using them to destabilize the fortunes and the goodwill of Labour Party. Julius Abure is not acting out of his right senses. He is acting out of manipulation. He is acting out of influence from unseen hand. Nigerians may imagine what the unseen hand is, but what I know absolutely is that there are some unseen hands that are manipulating Julius Abure's actions. Otherwise, there is no reason, there's no basis why he will be doing what he's doing today as a hatchet man, because he has been turned into an undertaker that will be utilized to decimate Labour Party. Even though he may not be able to conclusively do that on account of the massive goodwill the party has. But one bad broth can spoil the pond. And the national chairman of a political party is one that should be leading the way towards sanity. But that Congress, or the so-called convention that Julius Abure faction organized at Nnewi in Anambra State, that did not even have their in attendance the major faces of Labour Party, simply shows you that that convention did not go down well with the rank and file with the leader.
Barrister Nzako, one can argue that that's the same thing that is happening here right now, because when Abure and others called for that convention in March that got him re-elected, Peter Obi did not attend. He said his reason was Abure did not carry all stakeholders along. Is Obi not now doing the same thing which he accused Abure of doing during the March convention by not carrying all stakeholders along? Because so many of Abure's supporters who were part of the National Working Committee and National Executive Council of the Labour Party did not attend this meeting.
The meeting that was called was not a compulsory one that anybody who didn't attend would be gagged and bound on a stretcher and brought to the meeting. If one is invited to a meeting and one refuses to go, then one should not come and say he will not carry that along. What happened in that Anambra convention of Abure was that so many people did not even hear about it. They started hearing about the convention in the media after Abure must have elected himself, in a manner of speaking, because what he did was to select some of his cohorts and go to Anambra in Nnewi to go and do a kangaroo convention and get himself elected. Of course, that is not the way to run a political party that should be growing bigger the way Labour Party is expected to be growing bigger. And you now ask yourself, why would Abure, who ordinarily was a nobody before, with due respect to him, because anybody, nature and goodwill can throw anybody up at any time. But when you look back at who you were, then it will address who you want to be and the way you want to conduct yourself. One expected that having stumbled on fortune, that Abure should ordinarily want to carry on in a manner that that fortune will be sustained, his integrity will be maintained. Remember that there was a time he was beating black and blue in his home state in Edo State in Benin. It wasn't organized by his colleagues. It was as a result
Are you saying Julius Abure is not popular amongst Labour Party supporters and the structures of the party in other states?
So at the end of the day, what expected that being the national chairman of the party at a very critical time when the Labour Party blows up, that he should be worried and conscious of what he's doing. But like I said earlier, the unseen hand seems to be overwhelming and then seems to be taking him out of his feet. And we are yet to see how well he will be able to continue in that regard. But what is most important is that Labour Party should not allow themselves to be continuously be manipulated by unseen hands that do not want strong voices in opposition.
All right. As it is right now, Peter Obi it's been announced that Peter Obi is no longer the automatic candidate. Are you with me, Barrister Nzako?
I'm with you.
After the 29-member committee was inaugurated with Senator Nenadi Usman as its chairman, Abure has come out to announce that Peter Obi is no longer the automatic candidate for the 2027 presidential ticket of the Labour Party. Would you see this as a tactful voters for Peter Obi going along with OT to get him removed as party chairman?
It is very infantile statement. It can be likened to when a little boy is angered. He will tell his mother, I won't be your friend again. I mean, it's a very infantile statement. After all, does Aburi serve any special interest of Mr. Obi by saying, oh, we will no longer make it? Who is never afraid of? He will be very glad to run against anybody. Aburi does not have the capacity to make Obi a sole candidate. It is left for the party to decide on how they will be their presidential candidate. After all, in some cases, they can do that by affirmation. In some other cases, they can do that by general pronouncement of the majority leaders of the National Working Committee of the party. So it is too early for him to begin to say so. And I think it was a very infantile and pedestrian statement from Abure. We don't expect anything like that. There's no big deal in such issue.
Barrister Nzako, before you go, I want to ask, with all these internal wranglings within the Labour Party, how does it expect to mobilize and win the 2027 election? The Labour Party has been seen by many Nigerians and many of its supporters as the party of the masses, is not enmeshed in the corruption that is found in other political parties, but it's seeming like that's not the case right now. And also, many supporters have been calling for Peter Obi to break out and establish an obedient party. If this persists, would you advise him to do that?
Well, if eventually, because even if he registers an obedient party, the people in that party will still be Nigerians. What is important is that the leaders of any political party have love for the country and then love for the development and growth of Nigeria. And if that happens, then any political party should not want to be a stumbling block towards such progress. And we know that the instances of unseen hands and the manipulation by such unseen hands will continue to haunt all political parties around. The crisis in PDP is the same thing. The crisis in Labour Party is the same thing. Any other major strong political party opposition that comes up will also face the same challenge. But I can tell you that it is the duty of Nigerians who bear the short end of the knife to rise up and say enough and own their country and do what is right when 2027 comes. So otherwise, we will all be in it together and then the vicious cycle will continue. But I think that when the time comes, Mr. Peter Obi and all his supporters will know what is right for them to do, and they will do so.
I must let you go at this moment because of our time, Barrister Fred Nzako, but I must thank you for joining us as U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken visits London. A travel ban on a number of Iranian military officials. Mr. Blinken and Russians have been trained by Iranian forces to use short-range missiles, and they could be deployed against Ukrainians within weeks. His host, which is UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy, said the Iranian deliveries marked a dangerous escalation which had allowed Russia to fuel its illegal invasion of Ukraine. Well, that's it on the world news at 6. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard that DSS has released Ajero's seized passports. Senator Kingibe backs Uti's 29-man reconciliation panel. NLC regrets shying away from hunger protest, and the President Tinubu ordered Shatima to visit Maiduguri amid heavy flooding. Outside Nigeria, UK holds all Iran flight as allies step up sanctions. And that is a wrap on the world news at 6. My name is Chioma Innocent. Please follow our social media handles at VOP903FM for coverage of your live event and brand news mentioned in our news bulletins. Do send a mail to news@voiceofthepeople.ng. Good evening. Thank you for listening.